but it would be fitting either way because one of the vets that I recommend happens to be on tonight. But I have had the crazy cat ladies on and a couple other people who I think are just fabulous. And it was them who made me change. They didn't make me, but when I had them on, they were so funny. They're like, "We're not vets," and I'm like, I need to change the name. So anyway, tonight, so welcome to Your Pet's Life Coach, everybody. I'm your host, and with me tonight is Dr. Katie Woodley, who is so amazingly fabulous. Hi, Dr. Woodley.
Hi, thanks for having me, Carrie.
Of course, I love just talking to you so much and just kind of exploring. People don't know that before we go on, we don't know what we're going to talk about until 5 minutes before we go on because there's so many things we can talk about, right?
Yeah.
So it's usually something that just recently happened, and I think it needs to be talked about. And so, of course, something recently happened just last night, and I brought it to Dr. Woodley's attention, and it turns out to be the most perfect person to talk about this. So before we do, though, I want to just give a little heads up. If you are on here and you have questions, you can interrupt us and ask questions. That's what Dr. Woodley's here for. She does consultations. So, get to know her, ask some questions and see if it's a good fit, because you can always reach out to her and do a consultation and have her get more in depth once she sees your pet's blood work and those kind of things. So make sure even though we're going to talk about a subject, I want to make sure you guys can absolutely ask questions anytime. So, but I brought up to Dr. Woodley before we came on about one of the girls that works for me brought her cat to the vet, yesterday, and the cat has a mass on her liver, and the vet wants to remove it. It's going to cost $2,000, approximately $2,000 to remove the tumor. It's an older cat, and to cut the story short, the girl that works for me said, she's old. I don't want to do that. I think I'm going to try some holistic stuff, change the diet. And I'll try to work a little bit around that. She was going to get a hold of maybe an herbalist and see if there was something, for two reasons. One, it would be more affordable for her. And two, well, actually three reasons. The vet said that it wasn't a guarantee on the surgery, or even if the cat would survive the surgery, it was a big surgery. And also if it would even give the cat a better quality of life. So the girl that works with me said, no, I'm going to maybe try like a holistic approach, something a little more affordable. The cat is older. And what we want to talk about tonight is the shaming, as Dr. Woodley, as we were speaking ahead of time, she said that's shaming. It made her feel like that is doing nothing, is the feeling that the girl that works with me walked away with. And she was doing something. She was going to try to change the diet and do some things. And so Dr. Woodley had mentioned that it happens all the time, and I see it all the time. So we want to talk a little bit about it, but just share your thoughts with us. I know Dr. Woodley went through something if you can believe that. She's a veterinarian and she got this happen to her. So we're going to hear that story right now.
Yeah. So, I'm being joined by my cat Kiwi. So she wants to give support to all the pet parents out there. There is hope, I promise.
Yeah.
However, I think this is an important topic because I find that so many pet parents come to me, come to us. Carrie also sees this. And, when we look at, conventional medicine, we look at like Eastern medicine, we're unfortunately dealing with a broken medical system, and vets are taught the conventional side. We're not taught the other realm of like holistic medicine and integrating it in. So most of the time, this is coming from a place of where they don't know, they can't recommend it. There's a lot of fear that they're going to create more harm, and they don't know. But on the flip side, this is also where we really like one of the big goals for myself, and I know a lot of people alongside this holistic movement in the pet world, is being able to really empower pet parents to feel confident and be able to ask those questions. But also too, if you hear something like this, to say, this may not be 100% the truth, and the only option that I have. We're going off of what this veterinarian's experiences are, what they learned in school, what their continuing education looks like. And this is where getting a second opinion and asking those questions and not giving up on your pet. Like, we have to remember we are our pet's advocates. And so unfortunately, I wish a lot of times health professionals, this happens all the time on the human side also, but on the vet side too, where pet parents are being shut down for asking those questions. And a few years back, I had a German Shepherd, Finn. He was like my soul dog, and he actually developed a brain tumor. He was having seizures as a result. And we went, to the neurologist and had him fully worked up, CT scan to diagnose the brain tumor. We put him on conventional meds. We'd been doing a lot of holistic stuff with him too prior to this diagnosis. And he didn't respond well to the meds, stopped eating, couldn't walk, had diarrhea, falling over. Like, this dog never missed a meal in his life previously, was not prone to diarrhea, like literally incompatible for life. Quality of life was horrible. So the thing is that we did not do brain surgery. We did not do radiation. Those were the two treatment options other than seizure medications and steroids to suppress brain swelling. Going back to the neurologist and saying, this is not working. Do we have any other options? I literally was told, like, good luck. There's nothing else you can do. And come bring him back. Hopefully you get another week's time with him and bring him back. This is a neurologist that I share patients with, where I do acupuncture on them and things like that. So I said, okay, like, I'm going to go do my thing. And she said, good luck. And we ended up gaining another year of amazing quality of life with this dog. I was in her practice, this lady's practice, working on one of her patients, severe neck pain, doing acupuncture because they couldn't control the pain. And she didn't even ask about Finn. Like, it was just like, what is going on here? And it's just one of those things where it was a huge wake up call for me because I knew about this issue. I had already been in the realm of like integrative medicine, working on that in my practice, kind of seeing some of like the pushback from the traditional vets I worked with. But to experience that, it essentially lit a fire under me because I was like, I am sick and tired of people being told there is nothing else you can do or being shamed for asking other questions and not being supported. And so I think like I was lucky. Like, I had the tools in my toolbox at that time. I have a lot more tools now because we're, 3, 4 years on past that journey. But so many people leave feeling like overwhelmed and they don't know where to turn and what to do. And this is where like amazing people like Carrie and a lot of other vets who are on this movement, like trying to educate and things like that, come to us, bring those questions because there is so much that you can do. Looking at this cat with cancer in the liver, I always ask, well, what does it gain us if we try to go in and cut out this tumor? We can't remove the liver. This cat's going to have to recover from surgery. It is a very intense surgery. And there's so many different herbs, food therapy, CBD, like alternative medicine that we can use to help this cat and also keep them feeling really good. And that's why I love like the alternative, the integrative approach, because yes, if you decide to use conventional medicine for especially like cancer, you decide to do chemotherapy, that's a personal choice for, yourself, but you can integrate this other side of medicine so that we have less ups and downs. We keep those pets feeling good. We keep their quality of life good. So they're just like, they're not getting sick every other week and feeling horrible. And, I think the more I hear that, I think it's just one of those things where I just hope like the number one thing, honestly, from like just this talk is like, you are the advocate. If you hear that, get a second opinion, even if it's from someone online.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing, because just even hearing like from Carrie, like your coworker, or, hearing that there is another way. Like this isn't something where if you don't do surgery, you go home and watch your cat's insides rot. Like, that's ridiculous,
I
you
couldn't
know?
believe the language she chose. It was
Mm,
so harsh.
yeah.
So, I mean,
There's
this
the
is
lack of empathy, I think, is
yeah.
there's so much stress, overwhelm. Like, yes, there's a lot of like vets being overworked and things, and I'm not justifying that behavior.
Sure.
Like, things always come from a place, right? When we hear that. But I really hope, like, if someone's listening to this or they hear this and it triggers them, like, we need to take a step back and we need to go, okay, where is the empathy in this conversation? Because going through 3 pets with cancer personally is one of the roughest things. Like,
Mhm.
when you get a cancer diagnosis, when you see seizures, that's a whole nother level of dealing with like pets with seizures. Like hearing a vet say to you, like, good luck, like, and you're like, where is the compassion? Where is the empathy? Like, I know you're busy, but take a second to think about what is this person going through in their life now. Their cat, who they probably had 15 years or so, this could be like their cat that is their, like, this is their world. A lot of times it is, especially on our side, right? The
Yeah,
pets are
right.
family. And we do have to take, like, as a veterinarian, like, this is so important. Like, having people lose faith is like one of the worst things that we can do to a human when they're going through a health crisis with their animals or with, themselves, or, a human companion family member, because I've been there. Like, I hate saying this, but like, I'm a poster child, like, got into holistic medicine because of autoimmune disease from with my husband. And so I've learn that we have to ask better questions. We have to advocate. We have to continue to seek and learn and research to really empower ourselves to feel confident. And it is not an easy journey. So
Do you
it's,
think that, or are vets taught? Because to say stuff like good luck, we all know that good
yeah,
luck is a dismissive thing. Like
yeah,
good
it's
luck.
writing you off.
Yeah, we all know what that means.
Yep.
Um, Good luck and, oh, his insides are going to rot. Do vets learn? Are they taught? I mean, no, I can't imagine a doctor saying that to a mother with a child,
Mm,
right? Like, can you imagine if you took your child to, Chalk Hospital and they were like, well, good luck, just,
yeah.
so are vets taught about, I mean, I don't
Compassion.
feel like they shouldn't have to be taught, but then I'm wondering, is that we do hopefully ethics classes now.
Yeah.
Um, but do they
Well,
do a compassionate
so
class?
the flip side of this, I mean, we have the highest suicide rate, like,
Right.
out of all professionals. So there is a lot of like compassion fatigue, training, and like burnout and things like that. I think honestly, we're dealing with a broken system. Like the system, vet medicine, it's the same on the human side. You go in
Yeah.
for, a doctor's appointment, you're there for 15 minutes. I'm like, there's no way you can, same with
No
vets,
way.
right?
No way.
You have
Right.
15 minutes to work up a cat with cancer. And so once again, I'm not justifying like the behaviors and the words that come out of people's
Right.
mouths, but I think as a whole, as a collective whole, I mean, we as a like as humans need to also be reflective of what we're saying and how we're responding in certain situations. So, and there's always going to be the bad apples, right? Like there's going to be the vets with the ego, the vets that refuse to learn and grow and
Right.
be open to
Right.
new ideas. Like that happens on like, it's not just the vet world. But I think we can't control that, right? I can't control what someone else does. I can't control what my coworkers do. What I can control is what I do and how I show up and how I advocate for my pets.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot more information out there now which can help you and guide you, so that way you don't get stuck with like, my doctor just literally dismissed me and now I have nothing. And
Yeah. Well, there
it's
is a lot of responsibility. I try to teach my clients, like, just as much as the vet is busy, you're busy too. So a lot of times,
yeah,
because you're busy, you don't want to come back. You don't want to go do the research. It becomes you think it's convenient for you right here, right now.
yeah.
But usually that will come back and bite you later when you made it. It does.
I
People make
know.
those decisions and then they're like, oh my God, why did I don't know why I did that.
Yeah.
I think I remember my dad taught me when I was like 17, I think, about, like, if you go to buy a car, I don't know why this was like a big thing for my dad, but if you go to buy a car and you go on a parking lot and you see the car of your dreams and they come running to you, back in the day when car salesmen did that, you have to leave no matter what. No matter what. He would tell me,
What?
because you can't make the emotional decision to buy
Oh,
the car. So he would say, no matter how good the deal sounds, just tell him you'll be back tomorrow. You can buy the car
yeah.
tomorrow. He would always teach me that. So it's the same thing. Just say
Yes.
no. And
Yes, it's like the DARE program we grew up with in school. I don't know if they still have that. It's like, don't do drugs,
yeah,
right? Just
yeah,
say
just
no,
say no.
right?
Just say no. You
Like,
can
you
always
don't have
change
to
it.
commit to it. That's the
Yeah.
thing.
You can
Yeah.
always come back and
Unless you're in a true emergency, I
yeah,
think that's where, like, I could see like where a dog, like if they're, bleeding in
Sure,
their abdomen, like that's a true
sure,
emergency. You
sure,
need to
sure.
make a decision. You don't want to go home and think about it.
Oh my
Like,
God. Yeah.
like please
Just
don't
say
do
everything.
that. Like there are a few situations where please say yes.
Yeah,
Like
right, right.
so,
I'm
but
like,
for
oh
the
yeah,
most
no,
part,
you're right. Someone out there will be like, okay, I know he's dying, but Carrie said to say no and walk away.
no, like
So,
don't for that situation. Like
yeah,
obviously using common sense and analyzing where your pet is at. But for
right.
some of these things, and I see a question from
Yeah,
like Lily about like vaccines, like this comes up a lot, like
yeah,
where pet parents go in and they feel pressured and they feel overwhelmed and they end up just because it's easier, they say yes. And all of a sudden you just walked out with your pets and they've got like 6 vaccines and a dewormer and like Bravecto on board. And you're like, you go home and an Apoquil injection, or
yep,
sorry, Cytopoint injection, right? And you're like, what just happened? And
yep,
you're like, I prepared myself. I like prepped for this conversation. And then it all just fell apart. And we've had conversations before how to like talk to your
yep,
veterinarian and
yep,
be like the advocate and say like, I appreciate your opinion, but I'm going to do some research and I'll keep you posted and I'll let
yep,
you know what I decide. Like that is the most powerful statement that you can make. And it still keeps your veterinarian in the loop where you're not like, there's like no disrespect with that.
yeah,
I've had people say it to me. I'm like, great. Yes, 100%. Do your research. I want you to feel comfortable with our treatment plans. Like
yeah.
there are a lot of options out there. And I want you to feel like this is the path you want to move with your pets. And
I
so,
think a good vet does want you to do that. I know even for me, and I'm not a
yeah.
veterinarian, when people come to me for, I'm trying to think of some examples, but even like daycare, right? I don't want to talk you into doing something because that's when something's going to go
No.
wrong. I talk you into
Yes.
it, and then you're going to come right back at me and be like, I knew I shouldn't have done that. So, yeah, I think a good vet does want you to be comfortable on your own with that decision.
Yep.
Um, and if they're not, we've talked about this before, then that's not the vet for you. Any vet
No.
who's putting that pressure on you, like I told my coworker, I said, Mary, you need a different vet. I just the fact that they would use that kind of fear to do that it really upsets me. But let's get to Lily's question. She says, do you
Mm.
recommend any pre-treatment before getting the rabies vaccine?
So this is where for vaccine conversation, and this is a huge issue. I think she just posted like they don't accept titers. A lot of states don't. Like this is legal requirements for a lot of pet parents are can't get around this rabies. Biggest things, make sure your vet's doing a 3-year rabies vaccine, please. Like there's still vets out there. I used to work for one years ago that would only do 1-year rabies vaccines because we're going to lose business if we're not getting people in every single year. And so making sure that your veterinarian is using the 3-year rabies exact same vaccine is just licensed for 3 years. Like literally. And so asking your veterinarian that question before, because if they're not, I would, okay, perfect. So they are, that's great. But that's something very
I'm
important that a lot of
surprised
pet parents don't
there are
know.
still so many vets doing that. So many. And not just the rabies. I have a vet out here that is doing parvo. She's like, I prefer if the dog is under 3 years old, she does parvo every 6 months.
Oh my God.
She just
Why would
decided.
you do that?
I
Like
don't
that's
know.
here's here's the other thing too. And this is also a good thing to bring into your vets because it's called our WASAVA like guidelines.
Mhm.
So this is the actual guidelines as veterinarians we're supposed to follow. And they've been updated. They actually recommend titers now. Obviously, for the rabies vaccine, it's a little bit different. But making sure we're separating out the vaccines. So Lily, I'm going to answer the question, but I just want to broaden it because a lot of people are still giving multiple vaccines altogether. So this is where spacing out those vaccines at least 2 weeks apart and doing a titer for those distemper, the parvo, those other vaccines rather than just blindly giving them because most pets have immunity to that and they don't need that booster vaccine. We don't need to stimulate the immune system. So one of the things I always recommend for when we have to give this rabies vaccine is for one, make sure there are no other health conditions. We are seeing symptoms of any disease, licking the paws, behavior changes, gut health issues, ear infections. That pet is not healthy technically, and they should not have any vaccine. So if you're going in for like, say, an ear infection and your vet's like they're overdue for this vaccine, I would say let's defer that. Let's clear up this infection first, and then we can do the rabies vaccine. Most veterinarians will agree to that. And if they don't, I'd be questioning it and probably finding a new vet. But that's very, very important. So we want to make sure that we are only vaccinating a healthy pet. Vets should be well aware of that. It's actually in the vaccine guidelines, but something to be aware of. If you are seeing your pet scratching, chewing, licking, loose stools, gassy, reflux, like anything, like not acting right, do not give a vaccine, because it will cascade into a whole realm of where you don't want to go. And it usually is delayed. So there's usually not a connection that they make. And they're like, I don't know why this happened. And I'm like, well, it's because of vaccinosis. So it's something to be very aware of. So that's very important. We want this immune system strong and healthy. The other thing too is that we can use, there's some good studies out there that show things like some of your microalgae, your spirulina, your chlorella. If you're using those, you can actually decrease the risk of a possible side effect. So those are great anyways. They're great trace minerals, nutrients that you can use. There's great pet brands that you can find easily. Dr. Mercola has a Spiragreen that you can use. Your Phytosynergy, Adored Beast. There's a lot of brands out there, and you just follow the dosing guidelines. That is always something I recommend. And then there's also your homeopathy remedies. So I am not a homeopathy practitioner, but Thua, your Listen are great ones. There's Adored Beast has a rebalancer that you can use. That's a homeopathy remedy for after vaccines also. Obviously, if anyone's watching the recording, please check the brands because things can change. But at the time of this recording, I trust those companies. I just have to say that, like the disclaimer. I know it changes and they're like bought out and things change. And so if you're watching this 10 years from now and you're like, Dr. Katie said this, and please do your research.
No, I'm so glad you did that because I used, like, for example, I used to sell kibble,
Yeah, I mean, I fed Finn kibble when I first, that's what I was taught. I German Shepherd kibble. Like I bought into that. Like what the heck is wrong with me? Like, oh, it must be so good for him, right?
Oh man,
we've all been there. We've all been there,
I'm so glad you just said that because I used to feed my dogs pedigree.
I know, right? And we look back, right? It's a journey. And that's where too, like be the advocate, but also give yourself grace. Like we are on this learning journey. Yeah, the German Shepherd breed, here I am, freaking poor vet student, right? I'm like, I'm going to feed this like $300 a bag. Oh, it's going to make him a healthy German Shepherd. Yeah, it was crazy. Like, it's just ridiculous. If I were to pull it up,
marketing though, because people are very brilliant marketing because people are very, when you have a German Shepherd die, you get another German Shepherd. You're very loyal to your breed, and so why wouldn't I buy the food that has?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I'm like learning it in vet school, right? So I'm being brainwashed by the people that are like essentially like promoting our protocols in vet school. But it's like one of those things, like we do the best we can with the knowledge we have at the time, and each pet is here to teach us a lesson, right? I feel like that is so true for everything, right? And it can be very hard and like the guilt that comes with it, but it's always important to like, what was the lesson I needed to learn from this? Not by German Shepherd kibble. So that was my lesson. I learned that pretty quickly.
Yeah, when that came out, I went over to PetSmart because that was in the early stages of my learning about. Well, I used to believe that there was a kibble that was better than the other kibble, right? Like this kibble is better than that kibble. I kind of believe that.
Like sometimes the more expensive one, right?
Right, of course.
You hear that all the time, right? The more expensive one.
Of course. But I remember going to PetSmart and walking down the aisles and flipping all of the foods over that were like the bulldog. At the time I had a bulldog, the bulldog food and the German Shepherd food. It was very strange because the bulldog and the German Shepherd were the same thing. Like it was the same thing.
They just had a different picture on the front.
Just had a different picture. Yeah, it was really funny.
Name.
So I know I'm going to pronounce this name wrong and I'm just going to apologize, but it's Calliope? I just want to comment. I think it is so hilarious how she goes, well, I am kind of a strong personality.
It's good. You have to be in this realm.
Yeah. She says that she has a couple of vets that, they don't make her do the vaccines. But she says I'm kind of a strong personality. and it takes that. Kelly. It takes that. And I'm not. I tend to be. I just bought something at the vet a couple of weeks ago that I shouldn't have bought, but I bought it for two reasons. One, I kind of wanted to get home and check it out more. But
Market research.
yeah, it kind of was. But at the same time, I paid a lot of money and I should have spoke up. I should have said, do you know what's in this? Because it had no ingredient list on the bag at all. At all.
Oh, was that
Nothing.
the
It's Dasaquin.
dental? Oh, the Dasaquin.
Dasaquin.
Yeah.
If you go to there's no ingredient list. It says, if you'd like to know more about this product, ask your vet. The one that sold it to me, that vet.
They probably don't know the ingredient list.
They
either, to
don't.
be
It's
honest.
not. I know
Like,
they don't. I bet I highly doubt that they went investigating it, but it, anyway.
yeah.
But I tend to kind of just go, whatever, I'll just deal with it. I mean, I'm not going to do it. I'm not.
Yeah,
that
it's
way, but
uncomfortable. I mean, it is super
it's so
uncomfortable. I mean,
uncomfortable. It's so
God,
uncomfortable.
we are dealing with a GI human doctor who doesn't believe food affects the gut, and she doesn't think yeast is in the gut. Like the next conversation we have, I don't know what's gonna happen. So, but
Man.
it's like it's fat. Like this happens on both, like in both realms, the human
Right.
and the pet side. And it's
Right.
one of those things where, yes, Kelly, I agree. Oh my God. I was not with my husband at the time. It's probably good I wasn't, because I might have lit the building on fire. I'm
Oh
not
my
sure.
God. Oh
But
my
it's one
God.
of those things where it's like, this is what we're coming up against, is these opinions that aren't the truth.
Yeah.
And like, I can pull up immediately hundreds of articles showcasing where this person is wrong.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you still have to be the advocate for your own health too. And
Yeah.
so it's the same on the vet side. And so at least having, we talked about it before, having a team out there, where you have, if you can't necessarily find an in-person holistic veterinarian to do all the things, you can still have a team of doctors, as long as your conventional vet is open to what you're doing and they support you. That is really, really important. I
Sure.
work with a bunch of amazing conventional vets who, I refer people to them because they're like, I have no idea about this raw food thing, but I trust you. And I
Yeah.
know you're not going to harm pets on purpose.
No,
Like,
good.
and
Yeah.
so it's really nice to hear that. And they know too, when I send clients to them, they know those people want vaccine titers. They know they're probably raw feeding or they're doing a fresh food diet. So they don't question them. And that's what's nice. They may not have all the knowledge, but they're open-minded to it. And that's key.
Yeah, that's so key is, and I've been teaching my clients, if you're struggling with your vet when you go in, to be fair, we know that vets are afraid that the food won't be balanced, and
Yes.
that they're afraid of salmonella and E. coli. And those are both something to talk about for sure. And so I tell my clients that to just tell their veterinarians, I'm researching this, I'm studying it, I'm taking classes, the food is balanced.
Yeah.
Just
Say
take
you're
that.
working, say
Yeah.
you're following a veterinarian's like recipe,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah, exactly. Dr. Morgan, there's a lot of recipes out there and
Yeah.
that you can follow. So that seems to help is instead of just saying I feed raw, they say I'm feeding a balanced diet. So that seems to help. She says that's my mobile vet. She sometimes thinks I'm crazy,
It's
but she
okay. A lot of people think I'm crazy too, Kelly. I mean,
yeah,
we're all crazy, right? So I'd
yeah.
rather be crazy than normal, right?
Well, there's crazy on the other side too.
Oh, yeah.
I keep telling
True.
this story because I'm shocked, but I had a girl on Facebook, Vet Tech, mentioned that she was upset because the question was put into a group of raw feeders. I'm one of the admins there. Dr. Morgan is, Dr. Suter, like we're all in this group. And somebody put out a question about a sick animal. And so raw feeding got talked about. This vet tech who's new to the group comes on and says, oh my God, raw diet is highly processed. And I didn't even like, how do you even respond to that? Right. So I thought
Yeah.
maybe I did respond. I said, oh, is that what you meant to say? I thought
Just
maybe it was an
clarify, right? Clarify.
accident because she's a vet tech. She spent some time educating herself. Like she's got to have some information.
Yeah.
But that's what she meant to say. It's highly processed. So I was like, oh, okay, this isn't going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes you get that down that rabbit hole on the crazy other side, and you can't. It's really hard to to communicate with that when people are just so angry that this is happening and all this kind of stuff.
And
So
I think too on that, because I mean, social media is a rough place to be. I'm not going to lie. We're
very
both
rough.
on social media. It's
Right.
very easy, to sit behind a keyboard and tell people their opinions. But I think also like, with that, where people get so angry and upset, I think at the end of the day, like this is where it's okay to take a step back and just like release it. Like
Yeah.
that's something, if we're not necessarily going to change this person's mind, that's okay. Like I always go by the principle of like, I want to help and potentially like support and influence the people that are open to this way of like medicine and healing. And I will continue to put the things out. And if it's triggering you, fine. But if you want to engage in that and get like upset, I'm not going to engage with you. And I
Yeah.
think that's something where like we all have an amount of energy in us. And I would rather spend that energy on the people who I know are making a difference for their pets. And I'm not saying those people don't, but I choose to put that energy into those right areas versus wasting my energy trying to battle someone who's not open to even hearing what I have to say. And something, I've learned in the past few years is like, I can bang my head against the wall until I'm like, freaking really, really bloody. And it won't make a difference for a lot
You
of
won't.
people because they're
Yeah.
just so closed off to hearing that different opinion.
Yeah.
And that's okay. They can think that way, and I can choose to have my thoughts. But I choose to also support and help the people that want to learn more and are interested in like, what can we do and how can we help our pets by integrating in like fresh food diets and herbs and supporting them. I think that's really important because it's so easy to get into these battles, right? And it's going to
Battle.
be never
Yeah.
ending.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that was the thing is, when that happened, I was like, okay, let's, a lot of people were kind of attacking her because
yeah,
that's
well,
what
because
happens
she's
on
like
Facebook.
she's like the sole one in a group of people that don't believe that.
Well, I think for her, I don't, I just have never thought it's a good plan to come off with you're more educated than anybody else in the room, which is what she kept
Yeah.
doing. I'm a vet tech. I'm a vet tech. I'm a vet tech. To me, just kind of weakens the argument because that's all you keep saying, but you're not actually providing. So I was going to try to see, and then you're right. I eventually just said, I can't waste my energy here. It's
No.
not, it's just making it worse. And so I wanted to address really quick, have you address really quick, Lily. And it's a good question. When we were talking about the vaccines, she wanted to know, what about if they have a few loose teeth or you said chewing the feet, what about scooting occasionally? Do you
Yeah,
think those
so
are reasons to not vaccinate?
I do 100% because they're symptoms.
Yeah.
So they're not normal behaviors, they're common. Those are common symptoms of an underlying health imbalance. And so, I mean, unfortunately, she may be in a place where they require the rabies vaccine to do something like a dental. That's a possibility.
Yeah.
But this is also where making sure we're doing blood work and all those things prior. This is something you could do at the time. So I would always say to your vet before they like give a vaccine or do anything, say like, let's do some blood work. Because if it comes back where they have kidney or liver issues or something's off, you definitely don't want to do that vaccine. You want to address those underlying issues. Anal gland issues, they're common, they're not normal. There's
Yeah.
something off, like for them to be scooting. Is it something in the diet? Maybe. Is it a fiber related thing? Maybe. Could it be a nerve function from like the spine? 100%. Like chiropractic care can address a lot of those things, but it's also connected to like the gallbladder liver meridian on Chinese medicine. And so it can be an indicator of something else going on internally. So especially if we're getting itchiness, we have, anal gland issues. My Chinese medicine brain lights up and I'm like, what's going on with the liver? Like, making sure that we're ruling those things out before we're going to stimulate the immune system with a vaccine. So if like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, they won't do a dental cleaning or do, the things without a vaccine, then I would definitely do a blood test. And it sounds like she does that, which is good. But you could also work with, an integrative vet or a holistic vet or someone to figure out like where are these imbalances so you can resolve them too. So that way when you do give the rabies vaccine, they're as strong and as healthy as possible. Just because I see those as they're symptoms of an underlying imbalance.
Yeah. I love how you say that they're common because that is, it's just like those lipomas, right?
Yeah.
You get the lipoma. I had all my clients think, oh, the vet says it's just a fatty cyst. It's no big
Just
deal.
watch it.
It's
That's a
no,
just watch it
yeah,
comment, right?
yeah.
I
Just
hate
watch
that
it.
term.
Take them home and watch it,
Just
right?
watch it. Like, what are
Yeah,
you watching for? For it to get worse? Like,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Until the next one grows, and the next one, and the next one, and the next
Yeah.
one. Yeah, yeah. It's always interesting to me because I always thought, if I had a giant fatty thing growing off the side of my neck, I wouldn't just be like, yeah,
You just
just
watch it.
watch it.
Some people do. I mean, my brother is in radiation oncology, and some of his stories, some people just watch it until they can't
Really?
watch it because it's covering their eye, and then they're doing something,
That's what's
So it's
that's what
crazy.
worries me when we just act like it's just dogs just get anal gland problems or they just get
I know
lipoma.
we're normalizing an actual issue, like a health concern. And it's the same with the lipomas is a great example. When we think about what a lipoma is, especially when, because I'm trained in Chinese medicine also. So I love the ability to like kind of correlate it to Western medicine too, because it just makes so much sense is that your energy, like the chi, the blood aren't flowing through the channels. We have stagnation. And also, too, when we think about this lump, like toxins are stored in the fat. So if we're getting all these little lumps, these fatty lumps forming all over the body, okay, what's going on? How we assess the environment, how we assess the food, how we assess like the emotional health stress. Like there could be a toxin issue. We could be potentially not detoxing properly. It was super common. We live in a toxic world. That's just a
Right,
fact. But
right.
when we know better, we can do better. And so that's where seeing that I'm always like, no, that's not normal. Like, this is a sign we have a detox issue. We need to like resolve the stagnation and the buildup of what's going on here because it's essentially like a check engine light coming on, and you can either choose to like open up the hood and check it out, or you can keep on driving and then your whole entire transmission blows on the highway, right? Like,
I'm
I would
only laughing
much
because I'm a
rather
drive engine girl.
like check engine. I always laugh
Yeah,
because my husband had that happen. Check engine light was on, right? And there goes the transmission. And it's the same with our health. If
yeah,
we choose not to pay attention to those little things, it'll keep tapping us. Like, hey, are you listening now? Next problem pops up. Next thing pops up. And it's going to continue to get worse and we're, essentially we cross that threshold and then we can actually like diagnose like a name like cancer, autoimmune disease, IBD. Like we don't want that to happen because it's so much harder to treat once we've essentially fallen off that cliff, right?
right,
Climbing back up is so much harder when that happens.
right. Before you answer, Kelly, I'm just curious. I know I had talked to Rita Hogan about lipomas and herbs and the liver, and she was actually able to have the opportunity. Now, I have several of my clients told them, get those checked, do something. But I haven't had the opportunity. I haven't had a client go through the process for me personally to see a lipoma shrink. My question to you is, have you been able to do that?
Yeah, so I'll use
So
Chinese
awesome.
herbs. Yeah, and also too, I use a lot of like essential oils topically.
Yeah.
But we have to look at too. This is one of the things like I find we have to look at it's not just like treating the lipoma. The lipoma is a symptom of an underlying imbalance. And so I think that's key also where I always try to teach like pet parents that are in my community like take a step back, look at the bigger picture, what else is affecting this. And so teaching you to essentially like look at your environment. What are we using cleaning products? What's being used out in the garden? What's the city spraying? What are my neighbors spraying? And really dialing in like gut health and liver health, those detox pathways. That is essential because if the microbiome's off in the gut, the liver is off, like we have inflammation there, we can't get the toxins out, they keep recirculating. I don't care what you put on that lipoma. If we don't resolve the underlying imbalances, they will keep coming back. So I think that's really, or the diet, right? Like if we're
Right.
feeding a kibble or processed food diet, that's very, very important. Or we're feeding a treat or using a flea and tick product that's like a neurotoxin. Like the body has to process that could be contributing to the lipoma. So we need to remember to like take a step back. Like we don't want to miss the forest for the trees is such a great like
Right.
saying, right? Like we're so
Yeah,
focused
true.
on the tree is the lipoma. We have to take a step back and look at all the other factors that can be playing a part.
Do you ever recommend, I know Kelly is saying, would you detox or do you ever recommend removing a lipoma?
Yeah, I
Good
do.
for you.
100%. I do all the above. So and it depends on the size because you got to keep in mind, like if we have this huge mass, like and you're relying on like herbs and like or essential oils or something to penetrate that, think about how much it has to work on, like just the mass quantity
Yeah.
of those cells. Like, and this is where I know with my Chinese medicine training years ago, it was something where and it was interesting to hear, like, if you can like remove the bulk of the mass, the herbs will work a lot better because it doesn't have to penetrate as much. Obviously, you have to assess your pet and like what's the status, like lipomas that are in places where it's affecting mobility or it's affecting quality of life. Yeah, 100% remove them, support them through it, support those detox pathways, and then resolve the underlying imbalances for why it happened in the first place is what I practice.
Yeah, because I know I had done a more in depth, just specifically on lipomas with Rita Hogan, and she was
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, you if you remove it and don't do anything else, you'll get
They'll
another or
come
two or
back.
three more will come right
Exactly.
back." Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
exactly
yeah,
right. Like,
she's like, "Yeah,
yeah,
you that'll remove those all day long. You'll have another one in 2 weeks
that's
because
what I mean. Like, if
yeah,
it's not just like remove and like feel like here's the like false sense of security, right? We removed it. And, we have a friend who, she had ulcerative colitis and she was given no other options. They removed her colon. She
oh
like
wow,
assumed she's fine. I'm like, you didn't change anything else. Like,
they just
that's
removed the
pretty
colon.
do we just remove it? It's disease, just remove it. It's like your appendix, it's like your gallbladder, just remove it. We're not
Yeah,
asking the question of why did that occur?
right.
So, if you're going to remove something, you have to ask, why is this here in the first place? I don't think surgery is a bad thing to remove it, especially if it is quite large or impairing, like, mobility, once again, quality of life. Yes,
Yeah,
remove it, but don't forget about the rest,
yeah,
because otherwise they're just going to keep forming them, or we're going to see something worse happen.
yeah.
And I don't like saying that, but I think it is a wake up call. It's a check engine light.
Yeah, I had before I got all the way on the path that I am on now, I had a golden retriever who had a lipoma in a very bad location. It
Yep.
was up underneath her rib cage, and it was just
Oh,
causing some problems. I had to have it removed. So,
yep. I
but that
You
was
want to
in
hear?
the beginning stages of me switching her to raw. So I got to tell you, she never grew another lipoma again. But I
Yeah.
think it was because inadvertently I was already on this path in the beginning, and I was starting, to know flea and tick and this kind of stuff. So
Yeah, one of the
never.
crazy stories, when I was, only a few years out of practice, we were doing surgery. It was a golden retriever, ironically, right?
Right?
And we did this dog had a tumor in its abdomen. We thought it was like
Oh,
hemangiosarcoma,
wow.
and it was taking up the entire abdomen. It was
Wow.
insane. There were 3 of us in there removing this. It was a lipoma that weighed 20 pounds.
Wow. Wow.
And, I'm sure the dog I can't remember all the details. This was, like, before
Yeah.
I, like, woke up, and I'm sure it was on kibble and all the things, but it was just like, "Holy smokes," like, it literally took 3 of us to remove this, and it took up our entire treatment room table when we put the tumor on the table.
Yeah,
So,
hers was really big, and I'm very fortunate when they got in there. It was just a massive lipoma. But it's just it's interesting. But now when I talk about being crazy when people come to me and I'm grooming their dogs or for whatever reason, and I notice a lipoma, if I tell them, hey, I could put you in contact and you could do some detoxing and talk to some vets, they just think I'm crazy. Oh, the vet
yeah.
says it's fine.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, we've all been there. It's part of the
Yeah.
journey, right?
Yeah.
We can either, like,
I'm
kinda
sorry,
go
my
with the
cat is playing with my laptop. It's of
That's
all the
okay. Mine
people,
decided to take a nap.
of all the people that is going to understand this right now, it's going to be you. So
I love it. Well, mine was already on here. She's in her bed on my desk,
he's
so
like pushing it and like throwing himself at it. I'm all,
it's
dude,
great.
you taught him that. My husband's like, yeah, every time he's in a class, that's what happens.
Oh
Anyway,
my
sorry.
goodness. I don't know what I was saying, but that's
We're,
okay.
we're talking about how big these lipomas can get.
Oh, I was saying, so I think it's one of those things where we can either put our heads in the sand and pretend that like these imbalances and these common things that are not normal, are an issue, like pretend they're not an issue and continue on our merry way. And then when something happens, like we at some point we have to go, okay, when are we going to listen to the body's clues and the signals? Like it
Yeah.
goes with our own self and tapping into our pets too. Same principles. Like having a headache every day is not a normal behavior. Like
Uh-huh.
it's common, but we
Yeah.
should not have headaches, right? And it's the
Yeah.
same with our pets. Like our pets should not be limping. Like our pets should not be forming lumps and bumps. Like they shouldn't have like chronic discharge. They shouldn't be chewing at their feet. Like those are signs of something is off. We need to open the hood and take a look inside and think about how everything's interconnected. And so we can start kind of putting those puzzle pieces back together to truly heal the body. And that's where there's so many different modalities and there's that you can choose from. There's
Yeah.
so many different practitioners that also I see it like in the comments, like we all approach the body in our slightly different ways with the tools and resources that we have, which is great. What that means is that there's different ways to approach these problems. At the root of it, we're treating the foundation, right? So we are all treating that foundation, but the way we approach it is a little bit different. So I always say to people, like, find the treatment option or the way that these like vets are approaching it that resonates the most with you. Because I know the way I approach some things may not resonate with 100% of the people. And that's why it's amazing to have such an awesome community of other practitioners that are doing things a little bit different. Like we all have different ways of coming to essentially optimal health. And so I think that's really important, like finding the practitioner that just resonates with you the most and just, following what they're teaching and asking those questions and continuing to learn and implement. And that's
Yeah.
where that's like the beautiful world. Like it's not all doom and gloom, which is great.
I can't wait till the day I can find somebody with the lipoma that will go because I just would like to use it as, myself to
Yeah.
be able to see it. But it's nice to be able to talk to you guys and you say, yeah, I've detoxed and watched it happen,
Yeah.
and I love the idea of doing that. I just wanted to real quick. Kelly says she feeds fresh now, but I fed kibble the first few years that she had her. But you heard what we were feeding our dog.
German Shepherd kibble over here. So doing real well. God.
Yes.
Pretty
But
sure there was probably some friskies with the cats too.
oh my
So
gosh. Don't you think though, when you think about like I can use Joy as the example. She's the one that had that lipoma. When I got her from the pound, and I was still in the beginning. I was feeding her the better kibble. But when I changed her on to raw, it changed quick. Like it wasn't something like sometimes you have to wait years for things to, no, I shouldn't say years, but sometimes it could take a long time for us, right? To fix our health, to start working out and doing this. But I saw really good results quick, very
yeah.
quick. Skin and coat, all those things were,
Yeah.
were really quick. So that's kind of the benefit, I think, of with our animals, right? With us,
Yeah.
we try to change our diet. We're not really totally doing a good job.
Well, we unfortunately don't like living in the present moment.
Yeah,
We have all sorts of the ways we think about things, right? That complicate stuff for us, make it a little
right.
harder. We talk ourselves out of stuff. We do the things that feel better, where our pets are just like, this is what you're getting today, and this is
Yeah,
great. Like, and they just take it, and they're very energetic beings, and so when we provide them the tools to help their bodies heal, they heal really quickly. And also, when you think about like going from because we saw this with Finn, like spitting out his, German Shepherd acid kibble, like seriously, he would look at us and like drop the kibble out of his mouth and just be like, really? And be like,
I
I
just always
wish
love
I'd videotaped. It would have been like perfect, like, to
just
show
to know
people
what.
like this dog is literally telling me, like, why are you feeding me this like garbage? But when we changed his diet, like to a fresh food diet, we cooked for him.
Yeah,
We added some raw, and this dog started like dancing and barking and spit. He got so excited for his food, and his,
yeah,
coat and all those things like improved. And it's essentially like if you think about if you were to eat like Lucky Charms, the cereal, every single day, or even just Cheerios, that is every single meal of your life, every meal, you know,
yeah.
breakfast, lunch, dinner, and
Ugh,
multiply that by 10 years. That's essentially what we're doing with our pets. And so when we think about the nutritionally deficient aspect of that, that's crazy. And no
Crazy.
wonder why when we put them on fresh food, even if a fresh food diet is unbalanced, you still see a change. I hear it all the time and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, let's add in some bone, like calcium and organs. Like
Yeah.
we need to balance this. But
Yeah.
you saw a change because the body was like, oh my gosh, thank you for these fresh nutrients, the vitamins, the minerals, the enzymes that come with that. And,
Yeah.
real protein, like they're actually getting the optimal protein that they're needing versus just being fed carbs and like they're insulin resistant and we're not feeding the gut health. And, so that's why that change is so dramatic for so many people. It's incredible.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing I like about, and I think it's like with animals because we do get to see it very, very quickly, and there's no placebo effect, right?
Yeah.
So it's not,
Yeah.
there's not, they can't lie. They can't say, well,
I just got a new coat today.
right.
Like I went shopping for it.
Yeah, exactly. New shampoo,
Yeah, exactly.
the groomer, I don't know, but she's
Yeah,
just throwing
maybe they went and saw Carrie. So,
maybe, I don't know. I'm pretty big on using stuff that doesn't kill the skin's microbiome. I'm pretty big on
Yeah.
that stuff. But now I lost my train of thought, what I was going to say but it is an interesting thing to watch what we can do with nutrition and how the body can heal itself. And in some ways I have to tell my clients to be patient,
Yeah.
right? Because sometimes I have one right now who's dealing with, I think, I don't know. She's looking into it. It might be mange. I'm not positive. But she wants results now. And I can't possibly, we're doing some little stuff for her feet, but I don't even know what it is yet. I'm trying to get a diagnosis from a veterinarian. So I know what I was going to ask you. Have you heard, because you had mentioned insulin, have you heard, there's a couple of veterinarians that are saying that raw fed dogs are going to get diabetes because of all the protein they're eating? No. Okay. Yeah.
I haven't. I mean, there's a lot of interesting things that are being said. Like that's holistic vets or conventional vets?
Conventional. It's a conventional
Okay, I
vet.
was gonna say, I mean, I
It's still
expected.
very odd to me that
Well,
I'm like, is that a new
it doesn't make any sense
study?
to me. The reason why it doesn't make sense is because when we're feeding like protein, I mean, the issue is the carbohydrate content that's overstimulating the pancreas and affecting like the insulin levels. And so when we look at like our pets are made for high protein diets, so it makes zero sense. The other piece that I commonly hear is that your high protein diets are going to put you into kidney failure.
Yeah.
So especially like your older cats, but I haven't heard the diabetes. I mean, every day is a new day,
It's
so
a new
it
one.
doesn't
It's a
shock me
new one
anymore.
that I'm
Yeah.
starting to hear, and I'm like, what is that? Is that's
I
'cause
don't understand the physiology of how that's even possible, to be honest.
yeah,
Like,
it seemed weird, but I also don't want to be that person who, I remember when I had Dr. Pitcairn come on and talk about a vegetarian diet, because I want to know
yeah.
what other people are. So I was just curious if you had heard that, because it doesn't seem like it could make much sense to me.
No, it doesn't make sense physiologically, like, in the way that our pets are made, like what they're
Right.
supposed to be eating. I mean,
Yeah.
there's some of the things out there that I don't 100% agree with, but like you, I also want to learn more because I know things change. And
Yeah.
like the more studies we have coming out too, and like I also don't want to be that person that dismisses something and
Yeah.
then I'm not staying on top of what we need to be doing. So I
Right.
think that's really, really important. My cat is snoring in her bed. Are you all right? So, like,
She's
it's
all
making
heard this
like
all
she's in a
before.
fluffy bed, like
Yeah.
but she's just like snoring. I'm like really loud.
But the
Interesting.
reason why I tell all my clients to do consultations with you, unfortunately, Dr. Woodley, well, unfortunately for us, I don't know if you guys she's in Colorado, so it's not like I can just hop, skip, and jump over there. I wish I
Well, you
could.
can visit anytime.
I love Colorado, so I should. But I love that you're keeping up on things and willing to say, there's a new study and we're just not going to do that anymore, or
Yeah.
we are going
Well,
to do
I've
this.
I've
Or
said stuff in the past. I've recommended supplements and I like, "Oh, no, I don't recommend that anymore,"
yeah,
And I think that's really important. It's okay to be wrong,
right,
as long as we're willing to grow and be open to things. Like,
yeah,
for one, none of us can know everything, like,
yeah.
at this very moment. There's no way. So, to say, like, "I know everything" is just false. It's a false
It's scary
statement.
to think. I've thought about it. God, what if I were, well, I am going to die someday, but if we get to heaven or wherever you believe or whatever you believe, and everything I'm wrong. That's going to really stink, right? I feel very confident at this point that
I don't think you're doing everything wrong.
I'm like, what if everything I'm doing is wrong? Like, but I
No.
do, like, what if I get up there and whoever is talking to me and they're like, fresh raw food is highly processed, Carrie.
You're like, wait a sec, am I in hell?
I know, right?
Wait,
I know.
let's question this, right?
I know.
So.
But I do think it is good practice, and those are the vets that I love when I hear vets go, it's okay to be wrong, because I think that is what the problem is. Not only are our vets afraid to say, I don't know, or I was wrong, but their clients, the pet parents, aren't willing to say, well, she was wrong. Like, and that's okay. It doesn't make her a horrible, bad person for being wrong.
Yeah.
So long as they're doing due diligence in trying to do better and do right and educate themselves.
We're all humans, right?
Yeah.
And we're all going to make mistakes. Like, I've made some mistakes, like, and learn from those. Hopefully you never make those mistakes ever again. And that's just life. That's being a human. And I think, once again, it just comes from a place of compassion, like, on both sides, is so important, because we all make mistakes, and I think that is a part. Sometimes I've seen it with coworkers. I've been there personally too, being afraid to make a mistake because you're like, oh my God, am I going to get sued or things like this? It's a pretty litigious environment, like, having people come at you where it's like, if you screw up or kill my pet, I will sue you. Like, I've heard that before, straight out of the person's mouth.
I've had people say that to me.
Yeah.
If anything happens to my dog while he's here this weekend, I will take you all the way to court. And I'm like, so we're booked.
We're not actually gonna be. Yeah. Like, so we've reassessed the situation and we actually don't have any availability for.
I mean, that's you.
It is. And that is also what some, like, veterinarians are dealing with. And there's a fear that's part of that fear component. And so I think for every single person, like, if we're doing our best, we're showing up, we're being compassionate, have empathy for people in the situations that they're in, this world, like, it's just an amazing place,
so much
right?
better. It'd be so much better. I don't know what just happened.
I don't know.
I don't know. Oh, there you are. I'll tell you, I'll share a story with you. I had a girl call me the other day, 2 days ago, and she was very upset with her groomer because her groomer shaved her Pomeranian. So
I have a story for you after this.
She didn't want the dog shaved. And so she called me and she said, I just want to make sure, because they were told not to, and they admitted that they made a mistake. Like, they called her and said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I don't know how we did that. We just accidentally shaved your Pomeranian. So I want to make sure you're never going to do that. And I actually had a groomer do that one time on accident. She had 2 dogs. They looked so identical. And she just kind of, like, took a clipper down its back, and it was kind of too late, And so I told her, I said, ma'am, honestly, like, we do our best not to make mistakes. I applaud that groomer for owning that mistake and calling you ahead of time and saying she's sorry. I said, I hope I wouldn't make that mistake, but we make mistakes too. I don't think she liked my answer.
Like, I mean, here's the thing. It happens. Laugh, as a new grad, I was doing some relief work in a country clinic. And so I was like the only vet doing stuff. And they brought this older man, brought his Pomeranian in, and he wanted it groomed, like, by me. And I'm not a groomer. Like, and I was like, so let me just, like, I'm not a groomer, full disclaimer, like, this may not look very good. And he's like, nope, I just need it groomed. I was like, so you want me to, like, shave it? I shaved the Pomeranian.
With what? Do you remember?
Clippers, like, buzzed it.
Like a like a 10?
No, like, I don't remember, but it was, like, gone, like, the fur gone. And I was like the laughing stock of, like, the town. They were like, the vet that shaved the Pomeranian. I was like, I didn't know. I was like, oh my God. So I had to laugh. We all learn, right?
No one, shaving a Pomeranian, we all know. Well, no, we don't probably all know, but you're not supposed to.
You're not supposed to shave a Pomeranian.
You're not supposed to shave a Pomeranian. But some people do want them shaved. They get these dogs, they don't realize, and I'm not, I've never been the groomer that is just kind of like, you can't ever do anything. If that's it, I don't want this dog to end up in a pound because they don't
Yeah.
like the hair, right? So there's this whole
Yeah.
other what's going on if they like them short and they do that. But anyway, my whole point in this is that we do, like you said, we make mistakes. Vets make mistakes, groomers make mistakes, dog walkers make mistakes, doctors make mistakes, whatever you want to say. If we would all just, instead of saying, like, I could have said to that, like, oh, we would never do that. We would
Yeah.
absolutely, we
Yeah,
don't make
and you
mistakes.
throw that other person under the bus,
Right.
essentially.
And
Yeah.
as a society, we all need to communicate, I think, and be like, well, it was just a mistake, and start
Yeah.
that language. And maybe, I don't know, I'm so hopeful.
Oh, there's
Oh, look who's on
Jay.
this today. We were talking about the two crazy cat ladies just earlier. I was saying you're the reason that I call this your pet's life coach now. So for those of you
No.
who don't know, Jay is one of the two crazy cat ladies. So anyway, so we were just talking about, as a community, accepting that we are going to all make mistakes, and
Yeah.
if pet parents would allow vets to make those mistakes, and I think people would, it's scary to say you made a mistake, because
Yeah.
if you say you made a mistake, what's the reaction you're going to get? So we kind of all get defensive and we hide and we don't want to
Yeah.
admit to our mistakes. I don't know. We gotta start talking about
Yeah,
it.
and I think it's like us, through this journey too, like what we've been talking about is like it's okay to say like I made the mistake of feeding Finn German Shepherd kibble.
Yeah.
Like that was a mistake.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where as we start recognizing that and appreciating like the learning lessons that life is giving us, like
Yeah.
that's where all of us here can grow together and support one another. Like this is where like the Earth's community needs to come back and heal because
Yeah.
there's just so much like anger and disruption and it's just a very poor frequency. It doesn't
Yeah.
allow healing to occur when we're at like that lowest vibration. And just recognizing like we're all human and we're doing the best that we can with what we have at the time, and as long as we're continuing to grow and show up, that's the most important thing. And that comes down to like once again being the advocate for your pet and just asking for, if you don't resonate with that vet, get a second opinion if you can, even if it's, coming to one of us online or reaching out to people that you trust online and you like what they're saying. See if they can refer you to someone.
Yeah.
It's amazing. This community, like, it's not very big and it's an amazing community. Like,
Yeah.
I get goosebumps saying that because I feel so blessed to be in this community.
Yeah.
And this is why it's so great to have amazing like pet parents wanting the best for their pets. Utilize the resources that like so many of us are putting out because we truly want the best for your pets and to like heal them and optimize health and, get our dogs to like 30 or cats to 30. Like, it sounds crazy, but I don't think it is.
You're right. I'm sorry. I read that. So I didn't mean to laugh at the profound statement you're making. And then I giggled because I was reading
I
that.
was laughing too. I like that.
I bought a machine. It's an ozone machine that I bought, for bathing dogs.
Yeah.
And the machine kept, like, I had the hardest time with this machine. Like, it had a little remote, and like when you would turn the remote, like I would push on, but the machine wouldn't come on. And I'm making a point here, Kelly, I promise. So I would do this and then it wouldn't go on. So I had to call the manufacturer. And when I called the manufacturer, the response I got was this: well, it's made in Italy, and in Italy they do things different. And I was like, so
Is that good or bad?
they do things different. I'm like, so I guess you turn on your light in your bedroom and you just wait 10 minutes for it to come on. I don't know what they do. So that's not a dig on Italy, but it was, when you said Italy, I was like, oh, I know all about Italy.
Oh, it's okay. I practiced in New Zealand and Kiwis. Yep. They feed cats biscuits. So they call
Wow.
kibble biscuits. So I brought that back with me. And I used to ask my clients, are you feeding biscuits? And my vet techs looked at me like I was from a foreign land, which I kind of was, but it
Yeah.
was just, it's like, it's like the funny thing, right? When we take
Yeah.
a step back and look at these situations,
Sure.
like, it's just different ways of approaching things. And then once again, learning and being
Yeah.
okay with the process. I think it's, we can, if every day we choose to kind of keep an open mind. Can you imagine what that would do just in general?
Just in general.
Like,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
amazing. I know that relates nothing to pet health directly, But just imagine, we said
Yeah.
today, okay, what can I learn? What can I learn from today? What are my
Yeah.
pets teaching me today? You
They
know?
teach us so much too. We just don't listen.
When we listen,
When we
exactly.
listen.
We
Yeah.
have to listen though. They give us signals all the time. You know, the
Yeah.
universe is constantly poking us, and we're going to keep repeating those lessons until we truly learn them. And our pets teach us so much. We just have to listen.
That dog I told you about in the beginning with the nails that I
Yes.
did today. He was so petrified, and I had a moment with him where I just told him, and I know, okay, here's where you guys can all say I'm crazy. Oh, whatever. I am. I literally looked him in the eyes and I promised him I would, because his mom told us that he had some traumatic experiences with nail trimming. So he's a big guy. So I had this quiet moment with him and I just said, I promise you, I am never going to use a nail clipper on you ever. I
Oh.
promise. And then I let him sniff the little Dremel. And I don't know, maybe he's just sitting there going, I wish I was at the park.
I don't know. I don't know if he's thinking that.
Like in his head, all he hears is womp, 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 womp. I don't know what he
It
hears.
sounds nice. It's
But I
comforting,
got
the
to tell
voice.
you, you could tell the look on his face. I just had to
Yeah.
listen to him. He just needed a moment. I could have went in and just grabbed the Dremel and did the
Yep.
Dremel, but I don't know. There was just something about him that I knew he just needed me to like, just
It's your
take that.
energy. That
Yeah.
is
And just,
that is the frequency. It is like a healing, calming frequency. And
yeah.
this is where I notice this with very aware of it, especially with like my house call acupunctures. If I come in crazy, that pet won't be settled like
Yep.
100%. So taking those deep breaths, calming myself and setting the intention of like, I'm here to heal this pet.
Yeah.
Like then the pet just lays there. Like they're like
It's
super
crazy.
happy. And it is all
So amazing.
about your energy and the
Yeah.
frequency that you're showing up with. And
Yeah.
that
I
dog,
love,
that's why it helped him.
I love when I can have those moments. I wish I could have those moments every day, but some days are really crazy. And there's,
Yeah.
another dog barking in the other room and, like
Yeah.
you
You do
can't
the
always
best you
do it.
can, right?
Yeah,
So
but today I had that opportunity and it was a reminder. And maybe I
yeah.
needed to be reminded that we need to listen to our animals and take that moment with them. So, and then it's only fitting that you would be the vet that I talked to today because you're such a good energy force, and reminding people. So, and if you came on late, one of the main things we talked about today was, not letting your veterinarian scare you or make you believe that you're not doing anything for your pet because of your choices. They may not be their choices, right? But that doesn't mean you're doing nothing. So, Dr. Woodley, I don't want to keep you we already kept you a little bit too past.
That's
And you're
okay.
so full of so much amazing advice. But do you have any last little things that you would want to leave?
Yeah. I always say this. So if people have heard this before, I'm sure Jay's heard me say this, but it's truly something that I live by. It's like my motto. And we're at the beginning of February, right? February 1st. We've already gone through an entire month. We still have the
Yep.
entire year ahead of us. And if something resonated with you during this like talk, great. But what is the one thing that you can do that you can focus on? Like maybe it is like the gratitude, maybe it is keeping an open mind, maybe it's having more patience, maybe it's transitioning your pet to a fresh food diet. But what is the one thing that like if you achieved it, you can celebrate and imagine like the health benefits for yourself, for your pets that you would achieve. So I always say like that one thing, like what is the one thing that you can truly like just every day, like that is your guiding light, that's your North Star for helping yourself and your pets because we are a part of their ecosystem. And
Yeah.
that's really, really important to remember. So it can be something related to yourself and it'll benefit your pet, but it'll be personal for every person. But just
Yeah.
that one thing. What is that one thing that you can do?
What is that one thing? That's such a good thing because we do get overwhelmed, right? You get
Yeah.
so overwhelmed, and so many times, you're reading this and you're seeing this, and all this stuff is happening. And sometimes people get so overwhelmed they do nothing. They do
Yeah.
nothing.
They
So I
stop.
love that you brought it down to just what is the one thing. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
See why we love her so much?
Well, I love you too, Carrie, and I love all the beautiful people that are here because you are all why we do what we do.
Yeah.
And part of this mission, we're all in it together to continue this mission forward and show people that there is a light. And this is going to help so many pets.
Yeah.
And we're here to learn the lessons. Sometimes they're a little hard, but
It's
they help.
happening. I keep saying this community we have, like you said earlier, it's a small community, but it's actually doing some good. Like things are happening. It's pushing.
Yes.
We're seeing change. We're seeing animals get older, not as sick. We're seeing them get healed. We're seeing lipomas go away. So it's happening, and it's happening because of veterinarians like you, and even the people who are on here. You know what I love, and I don't know if this is on everybody's chats because all of us are doing this now, and I hope so, but a lot of times I see them helping each other. Like if you
Oh, I
can't
love
answer
it.
something, and then they'll
Community.
type in and be like, "Oh, you can get this here, or you can get it." So it's
Yeah.
not just these platforms are not just about listening and to us talk. It's them helping each other, and I just love it. I love that
The
we're
power
all
of community, like
yeah,
doing things alone versus coming together for the greater
yeah,
good and supporting one another. That's what we're meant to be here for.
yeah,
You
yeah.
don't need to be alone trying to figure it out. Tap into the power of these resources in the community because
I
people
know.
do want to help. I get goosebumps because I love that. I love seeing people show up and help one another. And
Yeah,
that's, it's just amazing. It's
yeah.
incredible. Once again, so blessed.
So much power behind all of a community. There's a lot of power.
Yeah.
Is there something that you're working on, or are you speaking anywhere live anywhere, or
Well,
anything?
so what's interesting, we're doing a live with Billy Hokeman from Green Juju on Monday. So
Okay.
just head over to our Facebook,
Okay.
the Natural Pet Doctor. But also too, we actually have a lifetime blueprint program where we support and help guide pet parents and teach them and empower them to help them feel confident and utilizing holistic medicine for their pets. So we do weekly Q&As. We have a private community for all the wonderful reasons we just talked about, to support one another, cheer each other on, and to help guide them when things come up. So if that's something where you're just feeling stuck, you need additional guidance and help, if you go to thenaturalpetdoctor.com, there is a blueprint program where you can watch a master class and see what it's all about, finding the root imbalances, and you essentially just apply to potentially be a part of our community. So
Yeah.
that's my big thing. That's my passion. Every day, supporting them, helping them, and cheering them on.
Yeah, because the more educated you are, the more information you have when you walk into your vet, you'll feel
Yeah.
it's
You'll
about
be confident.
yeah, it's confidence, right? It's
Yeah.
like, wait a second, I know this. Like I already know, because a lot of times that's all it is we're so nervous that we
Yeah.
just let them guide us. And so just having that knowledge doesn't mean you have to walk in and go, I know this, that, and the other thing, and I'm smarter than the veterinarian, but it will make you feel a lot more confident when you're taking these classes and learning. So thank you for having that available
Yeah,
to
of course.
people. Yeah. Would you
Awesome.
ever in a million years imagine you were going to be on this path?
No, to be
Yeah.
honest, I came here because our health, the
Yeah.
autoimmune disease thing, just completely changed the course. And I'm so blessed. And it sounds so weird because I don't know if I still would have found this path. Maybe I would have, but it just changed the trajectory of everything that I did in my career. And I am so grateful for the path that I've been on. And who knows where it's going? That's the thing. It's show up, provide, the mission is strong. We need to make sure people feel empowered and confident and know that they have choices. That
Yeah.
is so important to me, not being told that there's nothing else you can do.
Yeah.
And I just feel so blessed, so grateful because I get to meet amazing people like yourself and other pet parents, and, partner with people too that are on a similar mission.
That is, I think something I didn't realize was going to happen when I started doing this. Like I just had no idea, and
Yeah.
I'm so happy because I always joke about how it took me forever to come out of the closet because I have been feeding raw for longer than most people. Well, have been alive probably,
Yeah.
but I didn't talk about it, and then I was just like all of a sudden, little by little, I noticed other people. It's not I can do it. I'm gonna just do it, and so when I did finally come out, I'm so happy because I've met friends and
Yeah.
people that I, genuinely would hang out with and go Like,
I know, it's great. Like, we have
it is.
such a great time together when we get like, unfortunately, we don't get to come together enough. Like,
No,
that's the downside.
no,
But the power of like internet and,
yeah.
so lucky to be able to utilize these resources to share information for people like in Italy or, wherever they are. So it's so
Yeah,
nice,
yeah.
that
Do you
you
want
don't
to
have to
answer
have
Lily really, really quick, and then I'm going to let you go. She says,
the
what do you recommend for a dog that has fear of truck noises?
So this is where potentially working with like a behaviorist, because you're going to have to do some desensitization. So I don't know the full like what's going on, and what like led to it and all of that information. But this is where whenever I see like a behavior potential issue, the utilizing a behaviorist and their services usually we have to do alongside like a lot of the things we talk about. So making sure too, I'd make sure microbiome is okay, because I see a lot of reactivity when the microbiome, so the bacteria is off in the gut because of that gut brain connection. You can use things too. I mean, CBD, there's other supplements you can use like valerian, lavender, chamomile tea can also help kind of calm down and bring that fear a little bit down. But we also have to do some behavior training too. So that way we're like
Yeah.
desensitizing them and getting them used to the things that are making them scared and showing them that it's not a problem. So it's a combination therapy.
I knew that would be one you could answer pretty easily, because that one we see a lot. We see a lot. So, all right,
Mm.
guys, I'm going to go ahead and let Dr. Woodley go, because she's so free with her time and on helping there's so many of us now. We're like bombarding you poor vets. Can you come on our show? Can you come on our show?
Oh, good. We choose to do it. So very
I'm so
lucky.
thankful. I'm thankful that you're here, and I will see you soon. Talk to you soon, and then just keep me updated on any changes or anything that you need. And of course, I'm a big supporter of you,
Yeah.
and I try to send as many clients, kind of get them to do that. And I think
Yeah,
a
I
lot of times
appreciate that.
it's still hard. People want to walk into a vet hospital, and they still do. But I'm like, let her at least be your second opinion. At least
Yeah, it's a
let,
team. It's a
yeah,
team approach. And so you still have hands-on, but it's if you don't have a holistic vet near you, it's like the second best thing.
yeah,
It's like you still have access to tools, resources, and
right,
guidance to help you. So you're not alone trying to put all those pieces together, because there's so
right.
much information out there to
So
navigate
much,
through.
so much, so
Yeah.
much, so much. So, thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for doing this.
Of course, every Wednesday at 4 o'clock. For the rest of you guys, thank you so much for being here and having great questions. It always takes us down different roads, and I love it. I love learning alongside with you guys. So thank you for being there. Thanks for supporting each other. And then of course, behind the scenes is Lori. She helps me with all the typing everything in, because it wouldn't happen. So I just want to shout out to Lori for helping me do all of this. She's been a big support, and I will see you guys next Wednesday. All right. Have a good night, everybody.